That's terrible. Don't do that, please. Oh, fuck off. Oh, god. Hecking. Okay, right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My phone rang literally. Be right back.
If anyone expected anything other than this, oh dear, that was good.
That was horrendous because the phone rang literally as I hit go live, and then I immediately was just like, I immediately said beep off, and we can't swear. Well, apparently we just can't swear full stop because several of the streams get demonetized, and
You cannot stream in the first. You cannot swear in the first 15 minutes of a video.
Okay, yeah, and I'm pretty certain we don't, but whatever. Whatever.
I mean, last week's hasn't been demonetized.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing okay on that front. At least.
Yeah, that's fair. Failing that, I mean, it's not the end of the world because the podcast videos don't run super high view counts afterwards anyway. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But
really
it's just
matter
a
that
case
much.
of obviously you don't want to end up with a bunch of demonetized videos on your channel.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, I mean already.
So I feel like that will appear negative in the YouTube algorithms.
Yeah, and it does because normally when I'm uploading a regular video, and you're saying sort of upload, yes, monetize this video, and you're checking all the boxes. Normally when you say you set the level of swearing and stuff, and I always put it on the minimum level, which is just light, like damn and stuff like that. It always for a long time it had a banner at the top saying, "Excellent, you're really good at self-validating your videos," and I don't have that banner anymore. So yeah, I've had my passive-aggressive slap on the wrist from YouTube. Anyway, hello everyone. I'm just going to quickly kick off by saying, Chris Kingan, thank you very much for the $10. Always look forward to the weekend chat. Hello again, Chris. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
But yes, I feel to continue the conversation we're having just before we're going live about the start time and finish time and days of a week and things like that. Purely because of your video last night, your stream last night even, where you're doing that, and just the way that the views went on that. It's just a case that clearly there are a large number of people who want to watch your content or this content.
However, West Coast can't be asked to get up first thing in the morning for it.
Exactly, it's 7:45 a.m.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I wouldn't get up at 7:45 a.m. to watch a podcast. Thank you very much, West Coasters. So
exactly. So yeah, so it was a case of us saying, maybe we should do this in an evening, or something like that.
Yeah, or at least we should just trial it. Like maybe next week or something. Just say, right, next week we're going to go at what, 8 p.m. UK? I don't know. We'd have to figure it out.
Yes.
Which we
I don't know
7
what
or 8
difference
p.m.
it specifically. It doesn't make any difference to my timing because obviously I can just move stuff, so it doesn't matter there. But then it's also the case of just annoying Australians, depending on what time they are, and it's kind of whatever time you pick, someone will be busy. But it's kind of a case of it's looking at mercurially which region has the greatest number of viewers.
We should certainly trial it and see how it runs. Like if we just did one evening and we just did an evening show and we got double the view count, then it's kind of a case of we really should be doing this in the evening, Whereas if we did an evening show and we got, slightly higher but nothing to write home about, then we could be like, okay, we could do this in the evening, but it's more hassle for me to do it in the evening. Like if we got double the view count, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll make time for that.
Yeah.
However, like at the moment, this show already destroys my Saturday afternoon because even though we're only live for about 2 hours, because I finish work at 3, the between 3 o'clock and 3:45 is a completely dead section for me where I'm done with work, but I'm just sitting around waiting for the podcast. And then afterwards we finish and I get home at like, 5:30, between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, and it's evening. So it takes longer than it needs to almost. And if we did it in the evening, it would be a case of, well, I've either got to do this at home and disrupt Kimbo at home, or I have to come back into work to do the podcast later on. So, yeah. But as I say, if everyone was just like, if we got a significant number of the audience who were just like, yes, we will come and watch this live if you do it in the evenings, then I'll be like, you know what, fine, I'll make time for that, Because, yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of a case of you, in a way, do have to chase the viewer numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
To continue the growth of the channel.
Yeah. Yep, I'd agree with that. Although, live content is not my strategy. But however, of course, if we're going to do a live show every week, we may as well try and make it the best we can and appeal to as many people as we can, because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, fair enough.
Because it's worth having the viewer numbers, I think.
Yeah.
If they're available.
There's certainly no point in deliberately knowingly sabotaging yourself by streaming at a time when you know half the audience can't watch.
Exactly. So, it's like if you were to do a exceedingly UK-centric stream at 11 o'clock on a Monday morning, specifically targeted to working people. It'd be kind of a case of, I can't get the I kind of get the feeling that people aren't going to watch this.
Yeah, precisely that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's quickly say hello. Teltac is annoyed because Saturday's the only time he gets to see real people. We don't cater to you, Teltac. Next question. Hello, Noel Dowds. How's it going? With the national lockdown in full swing, what are your regs on people coming into the shop? I don't have any major issues with people. By and large, I'm having less issues with people not wearing masks now. Every now and then, there's still one person who comes in without their mask on, and then I'm just like, sorry, do you have a mask? While I'm wearing mine, obviously. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just getting it out of my pocket, and I'm just like, there's a sign on the door on the bit that you open at eye level saying "mask on before entering." You cannot not see it, and people will still open the door with eye line to that sign and walk in and go, hello, blah, 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 and start getting their mask out. And I'm just like, you idiot. Why are stupid people stupid? Answer me that. But whatever. Past that, it's not been too bad. Most people are sensible. Most people are sensible. And just, wiping down laptops before I work on them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's good that more people are doing it. It's bad that some people aren't.
It's frustrating because part of me is at the point where I'm just like, vaccines rolling out, so just whatever. But also, we still need to keep on top of it because it's going to take most of the year for the vaccine rollout and for the crowd immunity to get there. And but let's move on to more interesting things. I think. Gosh, M
said.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, there was a super chat. You go.
Gosh, M, thank you for the tenner, and thank you very much as well. Much appreciated. By IT Repairs from Sheffield. Long-time fan and follower. I wish every IT person would create such lovely content that you do. Keep away from the cold and the snow. Take good care of yourselves. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Yourself as well. Good business to yourself.
Mentioning the cold and snow. It has been sufficiently cold today that I've gone, yes, I actually need to turn the heating on.
You're still in the basement, aren't you? Where it's like 2 degrees or something.
Exactly, that's more than warm enough.
Yeah. The cold goes straight through my bones. I'm sitting in here with my heater on high all like this week. I've had the heater on high all day, and it's not been until to be honest, it takes until about now, like somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock, before I'm like, right, I'll take off my coat and actually be comfortable in the shop now. And part of me is just like, what I'm actually going to try doing next week. I'm actually going to, on my way home today, I'm going to stop by Tesco and buy like some thermals and all the rest of it. And next week, I'm going to stand in the shop and just go full thermals with my jacket on all day and just try that. Because I'm just like, what's the point in paying the amount of money an electric heater costs to run if it doesn't feel warm until I've got 2 hours left in the day? I'm just wasting money because the heater is on all day and I'm still uncomfortable. So I may as well just try going full thermals and just pretend that I'm outside all day, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a case of, yes, today it was very much like, no, it's actually cold. Very much actually need to turn the heating on today.
Yeah. And don't worry, Teltac, I did get Chris's super chat at the start of the stream. So that's all right.
Yeah. Yes. How cold is cold? I don't know. I don't call it cold until it's -Celsius.
Yeah, it's in the it's in the single digits around here at the moment. I don't know how cold it's been outside, but like I think we're looking at highs of 7 or 8 degrees maybe. Next week, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think certainly it wasn't so bad today, but yesterday it was hard frost outside, right the way up until the evening when I wanted to. On Wednesday, I think it was, I drove the car to the shop and back in the evening after work. And given the fact that the car had all day to sit outside, it still had ice on the windshield. So the ice had not thawed all day. So yeah.
Yeah. It's very annoying in our office, the heaters, because it's a combined aircon heat pump.
Yeah.
They just blow the hot air at the ceiling tiles. So you don't actually get the warmth into the rest of the office for 3-4 hours after it's been on. Yeah. And it's just like,
surely the hot air circulates in the room because it's an enclosed room.
Kind of, but because it's blowing it straight into the ceiling tiles get nice and hot.
Yeah. They're not exactly radiators though, are they? Yeah.
No, exactly. So it's just kind of daft. But yeah. Anyway, you said you had something to tell me.
Oh yes.
You were waiting to tell me when we went live.
I was actually going to talk about it was a mixture of productivity and some actual tech news. So yeah. Firstly, I want to acknowledge Tony from Finland. Heckin' Scandinavians.
Yes, I feel it's different when you're talking about it's cold and I'm sat around not doing anything, and it's cold, I'm outside, but I'm actually wearing the correct clothing and I'm moving.
I was going to say the problem with the British is that our weather very rarely gets extreme enough to be worth having extreme countermeasures. So in the winter, it gets mildly cold and we don't have the correct cold weather gear. So we complain about being cold, even though certainly by Finnish standards or Swedish standards, it's really not very cold. And then in the summer, we complain about it being very hot, where by like America or India or places like that, it's really not very hot at all, but we don't have aircon. So
we also just don't have the facility to circulate the air, kind of thing. So we have basically nothing, and it's just like I'm amazed as to how terrible it is at both ends of the scale, considering it's the same thing every year and no one wants to put any money into it. And I'm like,
quite so.
But yes, to continue my rant that I made months ago about Californian houses, they're made out of tissue paper. So California is nice and warm during the day.
Yeah.
Being in a desert, it gets cold at night.
Yeah.
So the houses get freezing cold at night because they're made out of tissue paper. So all the heat just leaves, and then during the day they get swelteringly hot. And I'm like, maybe if you built your houses out of brick, they would stay a more consistent temperature.
I do find it so hard to imagine American houses just being, just dryboard and tissue or some planks of wood. Whereas, in the UK, it's just like, well, yeah, you build your houses out of bricks. What else would you build a house out of? But,
Yes, that was my tirade, just about it being cold. And, like, the fact that the day is too hot the night is too cold. And I'm like, make up your mind, pick one.
Anyway, tech news.
Productivity.
Yes, tech news. We are 15 minutes into the stream. It's almost as bad as last week, where we just spent the first half an hour talking about cars. But yes, so
Cars of technology.
This week I was, I guess, but whatever. This week I was informed that when did this happen? So basically, I use and I'm a massive fan of a Chrome extension called the Great Suspender. And for those of you who don't know, the Great Suspender is a browser extension which it suspends idle tabs. So if you leave a tab open in Chrome or in Firefox, I think it's in Firefox as well, isn't it? I don't know. Caradog doesn't use it. Whatever. If you leave a tab open,
I don't use it.
After 20 minutes, the suspension unloads the tab. The tab stays open in your browser, but it unloads the contents of it out of memory. So when you click on that tab, it has to refresh the page. So that means you can leave lots of tabs open, and they basically don't use up any RAM. So this is really useful if, like me, you're in the habit of leaving lots of resources open and you're just like, ooh, this is relevant to me, but I'll look at this later on. Just anything you haven't looked at for a while gets unloaded. And also, if you're in the habit of, like, for ages, my work laptop only had 8 gigs of RAM. So obviously having lots of tabs open, you know, if you never close tabs, you run out of memory. So the Great Suspender is really cool because it unloads stuff you're not using. Unfortunately, as much as I love it, I was informed that at some point, was it recently or did this happen a while ago?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I know that it got sold, I think they said in something like November.
Okay, so
since October, since November.
Yeah, so within the past couple of months,
silent updates.
Yeah. Within the past couple of months, it has changed ownership. The person who was maintaining it sold it, got rid of it, doesn't matter. It's changed owners. And the new owners have now been pushing silent updates to it that include very, very suspicious looking code. And it seems very apparent at this point that at some point in the near future, whether it's now or soon, the Great Suspender will probably be a vector for spyware or malware or something like that. So we're basically at the point now where if you are using the Great Suspender, uninstall it. I have removed it from all of my computers this week.
The thing to make sure you do is make sure you reload all of your tabs before you uninstall it, because all of the tabs get redirected to the Great Suspender's servers. So if you uninstall the app before you unsuspend the tab is gone.
Yeah, when I uninstalled it, all of my Great Suspender tabs just closed.
Yeah. So you'll need to refresh them, open them up, then remove it.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a case of apparently the app has been seen to run other code. Other code by linking to places.
Yeah. So
and other people's servers and stuff. So it's kind of a case of it seems to already be doing stuff that it certainly doesn't need to be doing, and has the vector for remote running other people's code inside your browser.
Yeah.
Which is obviously why extensions can be a huge security risk for you.
So I'm incredibly sad about that. However, the bit that I wanted to point out, which I thought you might find quite amusing, Caradog, is the fact of is purely the fact of having removed it. Obviously, I then anything that I had open where I needed like a couple of resources of just like a couple of articles saying, oh, here's a hack we did on X that I'd left open to remind me that I needed to go and buy the stuff to go and do that and make a video about it. I reloaded all of those, and then I was like, oh, now I don't want to leave all these tabs open eating into my memory. And so you know what I did is I actually resolved them all. I actually went through the tab and was just like, right, what was this? Okay, this was the bits for that multimeter hack. And I went and ordered the bits of it so I could then close that tab. And like a YouTube video that I've had open for about 2 months for a hot air station that I was going to buy, I went and bought it so I could then close that tab because I'd ordered it. So my productivity went up because I actually had to deal with the tabs instead of just leaving them suspended in Chrome. And just
shocking. Astounding. Imagine that. Imagine actually, doing the things that you were leaving stuff open so you could deal with.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. See, I thought you were gonna say that you just went through and you just bookmarked every single tab,
No, I hate
but
bookmarks.
you just labeled them tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. So now you've no idea what they are.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were gonna say, and I was
No.
just gonna be like, oh no, that's
No.
even worse.
Or it
Why
could-
did you do this?
No, I'll tell you something even worse than that is just saving the web page. Just right-click Save Web Page As and just having a web archive on the desktop. I see that on customer laptops fairly often. And I'm like, and obviously you've got a HTML document and then a folder with all the picture assets for that page in. You're like, bookmark it. Don't try and save web content. It's not designed for that, you know. So,
Oh dear.
Caradog does not exist
Yes.
on the internet. He is a non-existent person. So sorry.
Yeah, it's just
So yeah.
But yes,
Interestingly, I was going to say interestingly. Oh, it's too late to do it now. I was going to say one of the things that occurred to me when I was informed about this, I was like, before I actually uninstall it from everything, I should actually do a test to see how much RAM it's actually saving for me on any typical day, and just actually like restart my laptop, open Chrome, and reload the Chrome windows and tabs that I typically have open all the time. Check RAM usage, then uninstall Great Suspender, repeat the experiment and check RAM usage again, just to see how much actual RAM it was actually saving me. Because I believe it was quite a lot, because certainly, as I say, when I had 8 gigs of RAM, I know that making sure that tabs were suspended was the difference between my laptop crashing or not crashing. Because I don't know if anyone here has encountered it recently, because some people don't see it very often, but you can feel it when your computer is running out of memory. Just Chrome tabs and any web apps, so Electron apps, Discord, stuff like that, they start behaving strangely. They start being slow to respond, or the page will white out and then come back, or it'll go unresponsive and then come back, and you're just like, I think I'm out of memory. And then if you just go through and just suspend or close a bunch of tabs, suddenly everything is okay again, you know. And as I say, the Great Suspender was actually incredibly helpful to me when I was at that stage. But then I just put more memory in my laptop and the problem went away. So, wah.
yeah, I don't keep that many tabs open, so I'm not the right sort of person to do a sample test on. But it's a case that I've never really seen Chrome use more than about 2.5 gigs of RAM anyway.
Yeah.
Even when you've got a whole bunch of stuff on there, other than when people are like doom scrolling Facebook,
Yeah, possibly. Although,
because Facebook has a bajillion and one tracking scripts in it.
yeah. Although also, I don't fully trust Task Manager's memory reporting. I can't remember the technical reasons behind it, but there's 2 types of RAM usage. There is actually in use and allocated, or something like that. And Task Manager shows actually in use, but the program can still have allocated or requested additional RAM. So that RAM is not technically in use, but it is the app saying, I would like this amount of RAM. And I would be running better if I had this much RAM, kind of thing, which Task Manager doesn't tell you. And sometimes the differences can be massive. But on the other hand, I've only seen that be an issue when I've been running stuff which is kind of a joke anyway, like Java Minecraft, where it's a case of this requires an obnoxious amount of memory for what you're actually doing anyway. And we know that, but whatever. But I mean,
Found an interesting performance
my
thing
laptop
with
is
Java.
my laptop is running 3.6 gigs of RAM for Chrome at the moment. So, you know, that's a sizable chunk. But
Yes,
what we
but yes, just an interesting thing about Minecraft Java servers with if you allocated in a machine with 32 gigs of RAM, if I allocated the server 16 gigs of RAM, the server itself would run out of memory. If I allocated it 8 gigs of RAM, it never ran out of memory.
Yes, I have seen
And
this
just
as well.
weird little things like that, and I was just like, but
There is a sweet
but
spot.
what?
Yeah, because I'm playing on a private Java server at the moment, and I was when I was tinkering with the setup just to get things working and get shaders working and stuff like that. I noticed that I was actually getting diminishing returns for the amount of memory I was allocating to the Minecraft client, and then it actually started going backwards where the computer was becoming unstable because the system was running out of memory because it was all getting allocated to Minecraft, and giving Minecraft less memory was actually helping more because then the computer wasn't capping out and stuff like that. And sometimes less is more.
I found for me the sweet spot was around 4.5 gig.
I'm running 6
It's
at
actually
the moment.
really
But
quite low.
That's for heavy modded.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, really quite low compared to what a lot of stuff sort of says, oh, you need to auto-configure this at 8 gigs or like 12 gigs sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a shame that it's still Java. But hey.
Well, yeah,
Java.
I mean, Bedrock is very good now. Bedrock is great. However, if you want
it's just
mods,
a shame
then
there are no mods.
Yeah, you want mods, you need Java. So yeah.
Yeah, it's also annoying that it's just in time compiling as opposed to ahead of time compiling. So every time you launch it, you have to recompile the goddamn game.
Yeah, the server I'm playing on, they're running about 100 mods, so it takes like 5 minutes for Minecraft to load up on a very quick computer, and I'm just like, however, yeah, it's nice having all the mods, so whatever. But so yeah, what about Brave browser? Well, that's not going to make any difference in terms of performance. Brave is just about
Brave is Chrome.
Yeah, exactly. However, Brave is just about assigning rewards and support to the content that you view. Brave is the one where you can have a subscription.
You can pay Brave money for Brave to pay money to other people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, that's right. It's that one. But so as
where you could just run an ad blocker yourself and then directly support those people.
I appreciate what Brave is trying to achieve, but it doesn't seem. I don't feel like Brave is useful. They certainly haven't called me to say, "Hey, by the way, we've got some money that people have paid you."
Yeah.
Which is not to say I feel like I'm owed anything, for the record, but you know,
it's purely just a case of giving someone $1 a month through a Patreon will give that person a lot more money than watching 1,000 of their adverts.
Direct support is always the most helpful, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see.
Yes.
How much page file do I do? Okay, there's a double question here. So Noel Dowd said, what do you set as your paging file? And PCBot asked what page file is. So paging memory, also known as virtual RAM, complexities generalizing. Your Windows, well, most operating systems, but specifically Windows in this case, has what's called virtual RAM or a page file, which is memory that is stored on the main storage, so a hard drive or an SSD. And so for stuff that is either if there is not enough room in RAM, or if it's not worth putting it in RAM, but we do want it accessible, you can put it on the hard drive, so it's slightly faster than getting it from archive. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. You use the hard drive as extra RAM, basically. So if you run out of RAM, you can use the hard drive as overflow space. However, Windows also uses it for preloading. So it sort of unpacks things and stores them in the page file, so it's ready to go straight into RAM, instead of actually having to scan across the hard drive and find it all, kind of thing. Now, I used to run a 2 gigabyte page file. I used to set page files specifically to 2 gigabytes. However, on mod, and that used to yield a slight performance improvement. Swap space, yeah, that's right. And I found that running a 2 gigabyte page file gave you a slight performance increase, because if you set it, in the old days, if you set it to automatic, Windows would try to allocate way too much. And I often found that the time Windows spent scaling the page file up and down, or searching through the page file, that was longer than the amount of time it would have taken just to fetch it from the hard drive in the first place. So the page file was actually worsening performance. So if you reduced it down to a capped 2 gigabyte, that made it quicker, more responsive. And then you had up to 2 gigabytes. So if you actually were running out of RAM, you still had that little bit of buffer zone before the computer actually started crashing. Windows 10 behaves very differently and does a lot of pre-caching. And the benefits of... And it seems that setting it to automatic is the best way forward now. Especially because, generally speaking, if you've got an SSD, you don't care about disk access performance anyway. So I just run it all on automatic these days, and that seems to work best.
Yeah, exactly. I've not bothered. I've certainly never done any testing on it, but I just leave it on automatic just because the people who come up with the page filing system and stuff know an awful lot more about the reason why it does it than when I do.
That much being said, though, sometimes Windows does try and allocate a ridiculous amount, like 32 gigs or 20 gigs, and I'm just like, and that can be an issue if you're, although you could argue...
As far as I'm aware, Windows is configured to only set up to the amount of RAM you have anyway. So if you have 32 gigs of RAM, it will allocate 32 gigs of RAM as an absolute maximum. So it's kind of a case of, in those cases where it's using that much space, you've probably already got 32 gigs.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
But
I need to do... It's probably worth me doing some more research into this, because as I say, I have seen... I'm sure I've seen it go over than that. On customer computers, I've seen it allocating like 12 to 15 gigabytes on a computer that's got like 8 gigs of RAM. And obviously, on customer computers where they've got 120 or 240 gig SSDs and stuff like that, you're actually taking a notable chunk of the storage there. So, but on the flip side, I definitely don't seem to notice any performance improvement by manually setting the page file anymore, so it's not worth doing that either.
Yeah, absolutely.
So more research required is the short answer.
Absolutely. I think it's a case that possibly, if you were to redesign a lot of the way that the memory subsystem worked, we could dump it now, but you'd have to redesign an awful lot of the way the memory subsystem functions to be able to get rid of paging or swapping.
Yeah,
just because that's the way that basically every operating system functions and has been written to function.
There was a meta at one point where people were just switching off the page file entirely, because lots of, in the earlier days of SSDs, everyone was going around saying you have to turn off the page file because otherwise Windows will be rinsing your SSD by doing excessive reads writes because of the page file. And there was potentially some mileage in that, because obviously early SSDs has significantly less endurance than modern ones.
Absolutely, very much the properly first gen ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
However, a lot of people were just switching off the page file. They were going, I've got all this memory, I don't need a page file. However, weird things happen if you switch off the page file. Lots of programs will look at virtual memory as well, and you'd get programs that would say you don't have enough memory, even though you do, because it's seeing no page file and assuming that you've run out of memory and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was always a matter of never ever switch it off. If you really don't want it on your SSD, then just set a 2 gig page file on your hard drive, because you can specify where the page file is. You can set it to be on another drive. So, that
was certainly something I went through on, because I got an SSD. I got a very small, cheap SSD very early on. And I did that. I did a bunch of stuff because I was using it in a Ubuntu machine. I actually did a lot of stuff to change the scheduler and things like that and stuff as well, because there were 50, 60, 70% performance gains to be had, because obviously the OS was built with a hard drive in mind. Well, actually, I don't have a hard drive. You can write to it as a direct access drive. Now, you don't bother scheduling, let the drive controller do the scheduling, just write it the drive, and just stuff like that. And it was very interesting how those things have now become standard. And just, sort of the improvements that were available in the very first generations, if you were able and willing to fiddle with everything.
Yeah, which... these certainly not for a long time. I haven't been bothered about that. But it's interesting what can be done.
10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not relevant now.
With regards to Microsoft Edge, Edge is basically Chrome anyway. Although, who's ringing? A minute.
Also, someone's calling a Mac. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, literally. It was the Mac that I've got running on the counter just started ringing, and I was just like, stop, shut up. What was it? Yes, so Edge. Does Edge have extension support yet? I don't think it does it?
Yes, Edge has its own extensions.
Oh, okay.
And also can run all of the Chrome extensions.
Fair enough. Yeah.
However, you have to specifically say, yes, I would like to run the Chrome extensions. But I mean, it's just a tick box on the extension page.
Yeah. Edge seems absolutely fine. I dislike Edge purely because, again, as people have said, as JE said, I dislike how Microsoft force you into using Edge and stuff like that. That's the main reason why I don't like it, is because Microsoft keep pushing it on me. And they've done this several times, and they've been bitched at, moaned at several times about it. Whereas, like, in the earlier versions of Windows 10, when Edge, whatever, the non-Chrome version of Edge was around, you know how you would install Windows, and then when you'd install Chrome, and then you go to change your default browser, you click on something else, and it'd be like, are you sure you want to change your default browser? You should use this instead. And you had to click another confirmation to say, no, I want to use this one. That's why I'm changing my default browser. And I think they got a slap on the wrist about that. And then
I like that's a thing, though.
That seemed to go away. And then when the Chrome version of Edge came out, they then did it all over again by putting shortcuts to it everywhere on everyone's desktop and start bar. And now with the little pop-up message saying, there's a new version of Edge available. Try it now or learn more. And it's just like, stop pushing it on me. Like, I think Edge is fine. When people say I use Edge, I'm just like, sure. But what annoys me is just the fact that they keep saying, hey, do you want to use Edge? Do you want to use it? Leave me alone. That's my issue with it.
Yeah, I like that they specifically require a confirmation to change it, because the number of people who actually want to change it is so small, and the number of people who actually want to change it, clicking twice is no problem. But the people who don't actually know why they're changing it because they're actually installing a crappy version of Chromium that is being modified to run unsigned extensions so people can siphon all their data off. It's a significantly higher number of people who are actually changing it.
I feel like that message doesn't actually do anything to address that reason, though.
No, absolutely. And it could be handled in a much better fashion, but I like the fact that there is something there. And it says, are you sure you actually want to change this kind of thing? But again, at the same time, it's kind of a case of it's just clicking OK to security boxes.
Yeah.
Which is a huge industry-wide issue anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And people talk about Firefox. Yeah, Firefox needs more users. I think I want to switch over to Firefox just on a principal reason, because Firefox is a good company. And as far as I know, there's no reason for me. Google Docs and everything works just fine in Firefox, doesn't it?
It depends on Google's mood.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
Because Google break YouTube, Docs, etc., in everything other than official Chrome at random.
Yeah. I think I need to try it out. Or at least I could probably move a couple of my user accounts. Like, at least I could start using Firefox on my personal accounts. Because doc support on my personal accounts is less critical. But like doc support on the Adamant IT account is critical because I use docs for work.
I've never had an issue with it, but I know there is a specific issue with Google specifically breaking YouTubing Firefox, for example, by putting random pop-up banners that are invisible banners that only pop up if the Firefox user agent is detected and things like that, to specifically slow down the browser to make it feel slower so people will want to switch to Chrome and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a case of there is stuff like that.
I think I should trial it because, as I say, I would like to move to Firefox because, as far as I know, there's sort of Firefox is definitely no one's got any beef with Firefox, do they? You know, as an app.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly have. I can see no reason why you wouldn't use it. It's just a case of just being aware that Google does that. So it also affects Internet Explorer. It also affects, like, is it Vivaldi? Brave, stuff like that, because they aren't specific Chrome itself. They do funky stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, a couple of people saying, Adam Keys, Chrome services usually work well in other browsers, but you constantly get pop-up messages and ads saying, use Chrome for a better experience and stuff. And yeah, which is certainly these sort of invisible banners and stuff to an extent. So yeah. I should,
Yes. I've certainly not had any issues running Firefox for all of the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And I've been running it for year and a half, 2 years full time. I never stopped having Firefox installed. I just stopped using it as my primary browser. But it's a case of absolutely.
I nearly always have Firefox installed, just because now and then when something isn't working properly or a web page is acting up or something like that, so the fastest solution is usually just to open it in a different browser, and that's what I have Firefox installed for. It's just when something isn't loading, or like when a shop's if I'm buying something from some random shop and the shopping cart is screwing up or the page won't refresh, I'm just like, open it in Firefox. It's completely different browser with no cache or anything like that. Hey, look at that, it's now working. And like you could probably sort it out in Chrome, but the faster solution is just switch to another browser. So
yes, the thing I loved, I was looking at National Express, trying to book a coach, and their shopping cart doesn't load correctly if you block Facebook. If you have Facebook blocked in your browser, their shopping cart didn't load or something like that. Or if you had Adobe.com blocked in your browser, their shopping cart wouldn't load properly. So you could never enter your address. And I was just like, but why?
Yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah.
And it's just like, that's dumb as hell.
This is yeah. Blah. Do.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, and I just love, people or certain websites which are just like, we only work in Internet Explorer 6. And I'm just like, but why? But why do you do this? Why are you even checking which browser I'm running to pop up this error message? Why have you spent time and developer effort to make a thing that checks which browser version I'm doing, instead of just making your website work in a modern browser that has 85% of the browser market share?
Yeah. It's gross. All right. Right. Let's move on, because I think we're getting down to rants. So I'm going to zip through a couple of questions that are in chat at the moment. Safari is the new Internet Explorer. I kind of agree with that. Safari is just, it's not bad, but Safari is just kind of in a why do you exist territory as far as I'm concerned these days. I would much rather people be using Chrome or Firefox, just because the experience is going to be the same on Mac or Windows. And I know you can get Safari for Windows, but it's just like, but why would you do that? It's just
it's like using iTunes on Windows.
Yeah,
and all of the stuff that comes with, and just kind of going, but why?
No, any rumor wise about CES? No idea what you're talking about. I haven't heard anything about CES, except that I assume it's not on because pandemic.
It's not on physically. Yeah.
So yeah. Let's see. If you use Nod32, the new security browser doesn't work on Firefox. Yeah, all of the browser extensions don't use third-party antivirus is my answer to that. Just
your solution to fixing these problems
Windows
is
Defender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever used WD-40, not the contact cleaner, to clean a PCB? I wouldn't personally, because I think it makes a colossal mess everywhere. I've got a motherboard that got WD-40'd, and I was like,
Oh, no.
how the hell am I supposed to clean all this off? You know, like, I think the only way of actually properly cleaning it afterwards would be to use an ultrasonic cleaner. So
Very liquid.
yeah, I mean, I don't think WD-40 is going to damage anything, and it probably does drive out moisture and stuff like that. But I wouldn't use it just because of the mess of having to clean it up afterwards.
It's
So
just gonna
no,
leave
I
oily
don't.
crap
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. So
Oh,
I don't recommend that at all. If anything, I'd rather people use glass cleaner, because even though that's
yeah.
water based, so obviously you have to make sure it dries. As a matter, like, obviously WD-40 isn't conductive, so you don't need to worry about it drying or not. Whereas glass cleaner is conductive, so you must ensure that the board has dried. However, at least you know it's going to dry with no residue behind, which is better. So yeah, no, I don't like that idea at all. I mean,
I
if
don't
it
see
worked,
what it would do.
yeah. I mean, if it works for you, then it works for you. But yeah, no, I don't like that. And Tech Yes City doing it, no, I'm not convinced about that at all. I mean, I've used
It seems weird.
WD-40. Yeah, I've used WD-40 for small things. Like at one point, I've used my original video on cleaning MacBook trackpads, like one of my most viewed videos of all time. I used WD-40 as a cleaning agent there. However, that was on an aluminium chassis, which you could wipe down easily, so it didn't matter. But I wouldn't be using that on PCBs, just because you'll never get rid of the residue, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. There. Just going to do another couple of quick tech ones, and then we'll go to another one. Difference between decoupling and bypass. Decoupling capacitors and bypass capacitors are basically the same thing. All of them basically just means a capacitor that is between a voltage rail and ground, and it is typically being used. I think it depends, because they do multiple things, and I think the term decoupling, bypass, and stuff like that is used interchangeably. However, I think a lot of the time it will be a question of, are you using the capacitor to filter out high frequency noise on a voltage rail, or are you using it to avoid the voltage rail sagging under burst loads? For example, I think decoupling, like, again, I might be wrong about this, but I would say a decoupling capacitor is probably there to filter noise on the line, and bypass capacitors are probably used in reference to reservoirs. So if you have a microcontroller, you have a big capacitor next to it, so when that microcontroller suddenly wakes up and bangs on load, the voltage rail supplying it will momentarily sag as it suddenly takes a gulp of current. So the bypass capacitor is there to supply that quick gulp of current to stop the voltage rail from going ugh as the processor bangs on load. But as far as I know, that's not actually a technical thing. I think the terms are all used interchangeably, so it depends on what the capacitor is doing. Right, I'm going to jump to the bottom of the chat, so sorry if I missed anyone. Someone did also mention, going back to browsers, someone did also mention Ghostery and a pop-up blocker and uBlock Origin. Carol, you're a fan of Ghostery, aren't you?
I use, dependent on which browser and on which device, I use uBlock Origin on everything,
Yeah.
Ghostery on most stuff, and Privacy Badger on other stuff.
I was using Ghostery at one point, but I found Ghostery was causing me issues. But I think that was mainly on social media websites like Facebook, which I don't
where
use
it's
anymore.
Ghostery is specifically designed to block social media stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas because I'm not using Facebook anymore and stuff like that, I could probably get on with Ghostery significantly better than I used to. So
Yeah, absolutely.
uBlock Origin and Ghostery, I think, is probably the magic combo.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to get Ghostery installed.
Yeah, I think it depends. You'd be probably better off using Privacy Badger now, I would say, only because Privacy Badger is run by the EFF, so it's not there is no chance of it being sold.
Yeah, that's good.
Kind of thing. So you're just reducing levels of risk of sale and stuff like that. And like Ghostery started asking for money and stuff a lot more aggressively than they had been.
Mm,
and just stuff like that. So it's kind of a case of I'm going, clearly the person who makes this is going, I need more money, or I want more money. I want to monetize my user base.
yeah, yeah, fair
So
enough.
yeah,
And again, I hate to jump topics back and forth a bit, but someone mentioned it.
no, of
Apparently,
course.
Brian from Tech Yes City was using a multi-purpose spray from the brand WD-40 rather than being WD-40, the traditional water displacer or whatever. So yeah, it sounds like
God.
like he was using a more contact cleaner oriented stuff that was probably alcohol based or something like that. Yeah, sure, or just use isopropyl.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, just alcohol basically. I mean, I guess the WD-40 multi-purpose spray is probably a good branded thing you could find in a hardware store. But yeah, generally speaking, if you're getting into cleaning boards and stuff like that, the safest bet is always going to be just to buy isopropyl alcohol, which is available all over the place and is cheap, and you know exactly what it is. One of the bad things about using a brand of cleaner is you don't know what it is. Like this is a case in point example. This WD-40 multi-purpose spray, I've no idea what that actually is. Whereas if someone said they're using isopropyl, I'm just like, yeah, that's a chemical fluid. I know what that is. It's in the name. It's isopropyl. So yeah, I would recommend using something just so then you can buy it from wherever and know exactly what you're getting.
Oh no, the story about N-propanol.
N-propanol. Yeah.
Oh no. Sorry. Someone whose job requires knowledge of chemistry being completely and utterly bamboozled by chemistry.
Oh dear. Isopropan. Ooh, I don't know.
Isopropanol.
Well, isopropanol is the long form of isopropyl alcohol. I don't think isopropanol is actually a real thing. I think that is slang for isopropyl alcohol.
Isopropanol is the chemical name.
Oh, okay.
And ol is an alcohol. So
okay, but then what is isopropyl?
I don't know. I don't know what the difference between isopropyl alcohol and isopropyl alcohol is, unless people are just
they are interchangeable.
Let me just. That's what I was saying. Unless it's purely a case of it's a variant spelling or a misspelling somewhere, which has now been accepted as correct.
I was going to say, and I can prove that because let me just quickly unmirror my camera just so I can show text on screen. Oops. No! Unlock. Transform.
Oh, you broke it.
Horizontal. There we go. Whoop. That's not focused. Well, anyway, here is my 5-litre bottle. It says isopropanol, 99.98%. Isopropanol, brackets, isopropyl alcohol. Propan 2-ol.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's all interchangeable is the answer.
Or 2-propanol, or yes.
Yeah, it's all interchangeable. So I buy a 5-litre bottle like that, and I decant it into a spray bottle so it's easier to use.
Yes. I found like a litre version of it for like £1 at some point from some printer supply company, and I was like, yes, I will happily take your IPA for £1.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be honest, yeah, that's a good price. Because like a 5-litre bottle like that, I expect to pay, £10 to £20 for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good price. I mean, if you're not, to be honest, unless you're doing it at a professional level, you don't need a 5-litre bottle. Buy a 1-litre bottle, and it will take you ages to get through it all. Unless you're literally pouring it on stuff. But like a spray bottle like this, I hardly ever need to refill this. This will last a long time. The only reason why I bought a 5-litre bottle was because coronavirus. I knew that the prices were about to spike on it, so I bought a 5-litre bottle because I knew it was about to shoot up.
Oh no, I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because I've not needed to look for like 18 months.
And you can make a poor man's hand wash out of this just by adding glycol into it. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Because most basic hand sanitizers are basically isopropanol. There we go. God, I started going ipropanol, and I was wait, what?
Ibuprofen.
Yeah, most basic hand sanitizers are isopropanol and glycol and perfume. So yeah.
Yes,
See
indeed.
Big
Good job.
Clive. Big Clive has done a couple of videos about it. So,
Good job. Well done. I'm proud of you for being able to remember IUPAC names.
PC Bolt. It is isopropanol. It is the IUPAC name. I'm a chemistry student. Fair enough. There we go. So, and glass cleaner. Yeah, since we're on the subject, I show this off in many videos, but once again, just it's mirrored, but whatever. Tesco window and glass. Just any kind of bog standard domestic glass cleaner. This is really good for just general purpose cleaning because it evaporates without leaving a residue. So it's a very, very good general purpose cleaner. As I say,
I found that Windex isn't. Windex is bad and doesn't. Because
what the hell is Windex then?
I don't know. We have a bottle of Windex at home, plus Mr. Muscle window glass cleaner.
Yeah.
The Windex would not clean up the gunk off my motherboard.
Oh.
The glass cleaner, the Mr. Muscle stuff, yeah, absolutely fine.
What the hell is in Windex then? Because if it's not actually doing any cleaning work, then what the hell is in it?
I don't know, but yeah, it was just kind of a case of fine, I guess.
I mean, unless Windex was a bit more alcohol based, because that's the thing is one of the reasons why I also say window and glass is that isopropanol. This is great because it's non-conductive and evaporates really quickly, but it's not actually very good at cleaning. That's the disadvantage of it. It's not actually very good at cleaning. Whereas glass cleaner, because it's you got the bubbles and the soapy, it's got. I mean, I don't know what the exact
probably a
ingredients are, but
surfactant of some.
Yeah, that's right. However, this actually will clean up grime. It will actually it dissolves dirt and grime, whereas the alcohol doesn't. The alcohol might lift it, but it doesn't dissolve it in any meaningful way. So you're just making a smeary mess. And then the alcohol evaporates and leaves, and the dirt just stays behind anyway, kind of thing. So they're good in different things.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah.
Let's say.
Jazz Enzo, no. Moving on. Windex doesn't evaporate well like the others. I need to stop it. I need to stop recommending it then, because I always say Windex, Windoline, whatever, because I thought Windex was just a brand of window and glass cleaner. However, it sounds like it's it sounds like they've got some kind of funky recipe for that's actually not very good. I mean, in all fairness, we are not exactly using it for the intended purpose, but
absolutely. So yes,
yeah,
but
just
no,
put your parts in a dishwasher. Yeah.
Glass cleaner did a wonderful job cleaning up all of the schmutz off of my motherboard.
Yeah. Windoline is more like Tesco. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The other possibility.
Experiment, clearly.
Yeah, the other possibility is that Windex is more toward multi-surface polish, like the Mr. Sheen that I use for plastics and stuff like that. Because, as I say, you don't.
Wow.
This is a type of polish, so it deliberately leaves a residue on something. That's the point of it. So you do not use this as a cleaning agent. This is a finishing agent, which will make plastics and surfaces like that lovely and smooth, and it will make them reject dust. But you don't use that to clean with. So it might be that Windex is a little bit more in the direction of a polish, which doesn't leave a residue, but again is a bit more designed to be a bit more finishing, perfumey and stuff like that, as opposed to just this is designed to shift grime, Yeah, usually
absolutely.
the finisher has some oil in it. Yeah, precisely. So,
Yes.
I think generally I just say glass cleaner as a universal thing. If you say glass cleaner, I think most people know what you're talking about. So,
absolutely. But yes, it was purely interesting the fact that I had some here, so I thought, I'll test it, and I was like, wow, this is not doing the job.
Yeah.
This is just leaving some weird mess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mix of 70-30 IPA to water, tiny drop of detergent works good as a cleaner. Yeah, that's going to give you something similar to a window and glass cleaner anyway, except they use vinegar instead of alcohol. So, yeah, that sounds about right. Right.
Yes.
Tesco stuff doesn't list ammonia, where Windex primarily is ammonia. That's interesting.
How bizarre.
Ammonia is bad, and that's all I know about it. But yeah,
I mean, yeah,
it's nasty stuff, is my understanding.
it's certainly not something you want to. Damn it! I forgot what you mix it with, or don't want to mix it with. But yes, you certainly don't want to mix it with something. I can't remember what that is now.
Bleach. Oh no, bleach is already nasty anyway. Yeah, I don't know. There's certainly a couple of household cleaners where if you're not careful, you'll make you'll make chlorine gas and stuff like that, which is obviously could be a bit of a silent killer. Yeah,
absolutely.
Use these things in a well-ventilated area, everyone. So yeah.
Yes. Exactly. No, we don't want to go there.
Yes.
I entirely agree.
Yeah, yes. I think you're probably right. Right, I think we need a new topic, don't we? Because we've kind of talked this one to death. Have you got anything to talk about, Caradog? Because I'm out of ideas at the moment.
Not specifically, just someone was talking about overclocking Ryzen 5000.
Yeah.
It was just, with that, yes, purely the case of, I'm kind of slightly sad that they recycled the memory controllers from 3000 series. Because I was like, oh, we could have had fantastic memory controllers, but no, we only have good enough memory controllers. How dare we?
Well, I mean, that's assuming that I'm assuming that AMD are currently in the stage of we're not going to bother making any new memory controllers that aren't DDR5.
Well, they made, because the 4000 series APUs are monolithic, they had to make new memory controllers for them, and those memory controllers, the Infinity Fabric or MCL. Well, Infinity Fabric MCLK, they're linked.
Yeah.
Will go up to like 2,800.
Oh,
like
right,
2,500, sorry. Which is, 500 more than the 5,000 series.
Yeah.
Which is then obviously a case, which then means it's an extra entire 1,000 mega transfers over what we can currently do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it means you can go from 4,000-ish mega transfers synchronized to 5,000, which is kind of a lot. It's just a shame that they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair enough.
That's purely my comment. It's just kind of a case of, to me, it's a shame that they made this new memory controller for the 4000 series APUs, but it's not integrated into the 5000 series
I see
ones.
What you mean. Yeah,
that's my point of just going.
Maybe they just
that's
figured
annoying.
Maybe they just figured that not enough people would actually put it to use, because obviously most people are still not running their clocks anywhere near that high, or their fabric clocks that high.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a case of, I would have thought, because it's a chiplet design, they might have done it for like
it would certainly be better if they had,
for like the 5950.
Yeah,
because the 5950 is already a $750 part. Sticking a slightly more expensive memory controller on it,
that's true.
A slightly better memory controller, it's more likely to get used.
Yeah,
because it's also going to be the chip that's used by people who are pushing. Probably more likely to be used by people who are pushing extreme overclocks.
Yeah,
because it's also got the extra cores. Blah 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 blah. Benchmarks.
Fair enough. Oh, I saw a couple of interesting ones, and then the chat scrolled, and I missed it. Oh well.
Thought you said what you had to do was keep your eyes locked on it and then highlight it with the mouse. I thought that's what you said.
Literally, just as I saw something and started reading it, it went ka-chung, and I was like, "Oh, damn it, never mind."
We're gone.
Let's see.
Goodbye.
Got a new laptop, and OBS won't screen capture. Well, when you say it won't screen capture, what do you mean? As in, it's not detecting, it's not picking, you're trying to just do a full screen capture and it's not coming up with anything. I would make sure all your drivers are installed and such like. Yeah. No, I'm not sure without looking into that one. Caught my eye, but I'm like, no, pass. No idea. And also, a couple of people are mentioning acetone. Acetone is vicious stuff. I would not be using acetone as any kind of cleaning agent unless you're working with metals.
It will dissolve most types of plastic, or at least drastically soften them.
Yeah, acetone is for that's like like cutting compound, that's when you're trying to strip back, and you generally don't want to be using that on anything that's not metal. That's getting into bathroom and kitchen cleaner territory, where those cleaning agents literally are designed to attack and dissolve anything that isn't enamel, kind of thing. So I would stay well clear as acetone unless you're actually trying to melt what you're putting it on.
Yeah, basically.
For painting on metal, exactly. So if you're going onto a metal, if you've got like a metal chassis and you want to get down to raw metal, golden. If you start using that on a PCB or plastic, you're going to melt something. So stay away from that one.
Absolutely. I mixed up bottles and dissolved part of a casing of a mouse.
I remember that one.
A computer mouse, not a mouse.
Yes, absolutely.
Before someone starts reporting me to the RSPCA. No, I didn't put it in hydrofluoric acid. That's not me.
I'm just scrolling through Anantech to see what else is going on at the moment, but I'm not seeing much.
Lots of things. Another topic was I watched a video from DeBauer this morning that he released, I don't know, a week ago or two.
Okay.
And yes, just a very weird take on the pricing of the 3000 series from NVIDIA. His video was complaining that NVIDIA had reduced the MSRP. And I couldn't understand if I was missing his point, but he was basically complaining that NVIDIA had reduced the MSRP. And then complaining that, just complaining that they'd reduced the MSRP, and then saying that it was good that people were selling it at a higher price because of the demand. And I was just like, I mean, yes, I understand your point about a free market economy means that whatever the cost is that people are willing to pay is the price that something will end up at.
Yeah.
But
perhaps he was trying to argue the point of NVIDIA being unrealistic about what the board partners can achieve. For example, with the 3060 Ti, I'm not up to date on this, but I know when the 3060 Ti had been announced, the word on the market was that the board partners had looked at the MSRP and said that can't be done on a partner board. We can't get anywhere near that. So, what NVIDIA are doing is they're putting this impossible price target into people's mind, and then when we release a card that is inevitably going to cost more than that because we can't sell it, we have to make money somewhere, people are going to just say that it costs too much and not buy it. So I wonder if that's the angle that he was aiming for and he just missed it slightly or something like that.
By entirely not mentioning board partners at any point in his complaint about MSRP.
Yeah, that's just it.
So it was just kind of
cheap graphics cards are a good thing. I mean, I was watching Wan Show earlier on today, and they were lamenting the fact that where right now, obviously, we've just had an attempted release at very aggressively priced graphics cards that, due to scalpers and all of the rest of it, has, as far as NVIDIA is concerned, not gone very well. And NVIDIA are under a lot of fire over the fact that you can't buy their new product for whatever reason. Whether or not it's NVIDIA's fault is irrelevant. The fact is, at face value, NVIDIA have released a product and no one is able to get it. And so as far as they're concerned, the launch hasn't gone very well. And so, Linus on Wan Show was basically saying, they're never going to try and do that stunt again. They're going to say, well, that went terribly wrong. Let's not do that again. And so we're likely to see that graphics card prices will just continue to go up. And coupled with the increased tariffs and the air freight tax that everyone is having to pay, we're now in a situation where, again, current news is graphics card prices are going up. And
Absolutely.
That is potentially at a point now where it's just like, let's I think everyone can agree that the mid-range for graphics cards is going to be somewhere around, we'll go back a step. And we'll say that the mid-range go back to the 2000 series, not the current series, which was obviously kind of new. I think we can all agree that mid-range graphics cards are like the 2060 to the 2070, that kind of region, because that's the middle of the product stack, right? And anything below that, you're all right there.
Excuse me. I'm good.
Okay, yeah.
I'm good.
I was like, I'm not sure if you're objecting or you just need to hiccup. So
I had my drink come out my nose.
okay, yes, and you were just controlling. Yeah, fair enough. I think we can all agree that 2060 to 2070 is considered the mid-range, and anything below that is budget, or like you're trying to be more affordable, and anything above that is price is less important. We're now focusing on performance over cost, right? That seems to be a reasonable statement.
Well, focusing on raw performance over cost effectiveness.
Yes. So
over performance per dollar. Yeah.
Whereas now, like again, the 3070 seems to be that we're now looking at like £600 to £700, which is basically going to be $600 to $700 for a 3070. That seems to be here to stay. That looks like that price isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So now,
certainly at the moment, yeah.
So we're looking at like $600 to $700 for a mid-range graphics card, which, when you put it in a one-liner like that, is pretty horrifying, really.
Oh, absolutely.
And on Wancho, and the vibe at the moment is that just as it looks like we were going into a really exciting era for custom-built computers, where we had these new products that are really heckin' fast, they're just completely priced out of proportion to the point where, right now, the brand new console generations, the Series X and the PS5, are just straight up way better bang for buck. And it's just like, yeah, right now, it almost...
That happened with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Less with the Xbox One, because the original Xbox One was weak sauce.
Yeah.
But the PlayStation 4, we had that, where you had this console that was $450. $400, $450, $500, something in that region.
Yeah.
That was the same as or better than, in fidelity, than £1,000 gaming computer.
Yeah.
It happened with the Xbox 360. And it's kind of a case of it happens in the first year of release of a console every single time.
Okay, yeah. I've never really been paying enough attention to consoles, so I'll take your word for it, but yeah.
It's kind of a case of, that's what a console generation should do. Because if it didn't, and a console generation lasts 6 or 7 or 8 years, by the end of year 8, it's genuinely worthless and has the same performance as a pocket calculator.
Yeah.
So obviously it has to push the envelope and be double the performance per pound.
Yeah.
Or otherwise it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be relevant in 3-4 years time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah.
Flores points out that a mid-range cell phone is also about $600 to $700. I agree to an extent. However, I have significant issue with that. That much being said, I've no idea, because I've had my phone on contract, my current phone on contract for over 2 years now. I have been completely out of touch with what the upfront cost of phones is, because I pay monthly. However, when I see people paying, when I see people just buying brand new smartphones outright for $1,000 and stuff like that, personally, I think they're nuts. I think it's insanity to walk around with $1,000 phone in your pocket. I think that's bonkers, and I think people who do it are bonkers. That's just my personal opinion, but it's for that reason that right now, I have zero intention of having any kind of flagship phone, unless I'm the only type of flagship phone I would own is one where I'm paying like £25 or about $25 a month on contract for it, and I didn't pay for the phone, because obviously at that point, the cost, the value and cost of the phone is buried in the contract, where I don't feel it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I'm pretty good about not breaking my phone, so it doesn't concern me if it gets damaged.
Exactly.
So touch wood, I have not smashed a phone before. You know, like a full-on, this actually needs to be physically fixed, or a full-on, you know, everyone's got their friend who's got the spider glass cobweb cracked screen on their phone and they can't afford to get it fixed. You know, I've never been in that situation. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. I've had that happen once to me, so that's not terrible.
And also, I have a suspicion that the current or next generation of cheap smartphones may be significantly better, because the last time I was in the budget smartphone area was with my Honor 5C, and that was, I don't want to say it was a bad buy, but it did exactly as in, you know, it as per a lower end device, it didn't last as long. It was worn out at about 18 months, you know, whereas my current phone is 2 years old and no problems whatsoever, you know. However, the issue there was that it was a 16 gigabyte phone, and over the past generation, 16 gigabyte phones have aged incredibly badly because of just the size of the operating system and apps has gotten big enough where 16 gigabytes is just not enough storage, and B, because there wasn't much storage and just a combination of the size of the apps getting bigger, because there was only 16 gigs, obviously that 16 gigs of storage just got ground down into dust through wear and tear. Whereas a modern phone, like my current phone, a Huawei P20 with 128 gigs that I use 10% of kind of thing, well, I probably use about 20 gigs of it. Because it's got 100 gigabytes free, it's got all that space to do wear leveling, which is why it's not suffering nearly so much slowdown. Now, I believe the next generation of cheaper smartphones are at least 64 gigabytes. So they've got a decent amount of storage to do wear leveling. So I would guess that the current / next generation of budget smartphones will probably age significantly better than the earlier ones did. So now might be a good, you know, my next phone may end up, well, no, my next phone is going to be a Pixel. I've already decided that, but you know, when people tell me they bought a budget smartphone, I'm now going, yeah, you'll probably be fine, instead of going, oh, I wouldn't have personally, kind of thing.
There is much more pressure on the smartphone manufacturers to actually make cheap phones good.
Yeah.
Now, just because, like, there's a Pixel 4a, for example, that has reduced the cap on, or sorry, has reduced the maximum price that you need to pay to get what is effectively a flagship device experience.
Oh wow, the Pixel 4a. Yeah, it's £350.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's put
I didn't realize it was that
massive
cheap.
Pressure on there. The Pixel 5 is £500.
Yeah.
So it's a case that there is so much more pressure on there for the prices, for the devices to be good at that price range.
Yeah.
Because you've got a Google device at that price range. You've got, you know, the OnePlus N100 Nord and things like that.
Yeah.
That are at that price range. So there has been 5 or 6 phones this year at the £150 to £500 range that have been actually good devices.
Yeah.
And it's there's been a lot of movement in that area and a lot more pressure to push down the very bottom pricing.
That's really good news, because, like, I thought, because, you know, you remember the days of the Nexus 4 and stuff like that, where the Google phones were very affordable for a very decent phone that was not as good as a hardcore flagship, but certainly would give one a bloody nose. You know, you could buy one of those for a very reasonable price and get what you knew would be a not crap phone. And
exactly.
Like, and now, you know, like with a Google Pixel 4, when Nexus went away, like the Nexus 6 onwards, when they started getting expensive, I thought the days of those kind of, you know, blue collar phones, I thought they were gone, without resorting to Chinese brands like Xiaomi and so on. I say resorting, but asterisks. However, Google Pixel 4a, you know, £350, and you know that it's going to be a pretty decent phone. And like at this point now, I'm sort of, I think I look at that and I'm just like, I don't know why. Just why would you buy anything else, kind of thing.
The 4a has a shockingly solid screen.
Yeah.
Like, the screen is really nice on it. My father has one, and every time I pick it up to do something on it, I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot how nice this phone feels.
Yeah.
It's also got the like £40 fabric case on it. The case is horrifically expensive for a case, but it
That's
also
where they're making their money,
feels,
isn't it? Yeah.
it also feels so nice. It's just got the right amount of soft, and you know, if you gently stroke it, you just kind of go, oh yes, this is the right amount of soft in it, and all of that stuff. It ticks all of those very nice boxes.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, to me, they really nailed the device because the screen is solid. The camera is, I think, the same in my Pixel as the 3XL, basically. So, yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm very happy with this.
Yeah.
And it's just...
This is the thing, again, this is why when people tell me they just went out and spent $1,200 on an iPhone, I'm just like, are you insane, though? You know,
why wouldn't you just get an iPhone SE?
Well, mate,
if you want an iPhone, why wouldn't you have got the SE?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess the answer is just it's the Apple woo factor, but it's gotten to such an extreme now where it's just, again, it's just like like the Google Pixel 4a. I think we can all agree that would, you know, the only reason to be getting a flagship phone these days when budget phones are so good would be because you want really high mobile gaming performance. That's the only reason I can think of. And the vast majority of people don't play games on their mobile, or if they do, they're playing simple games. You know, because like
certainly not
like,
had any performance issues
they're
on
not
a
playing
Pixel
PUBG
3XL.
Mobile or whatever. Yeah.
And it's a case I would contend that the Pixel cameras, the image that you get at the end saved to your device is probably the best out of a Pixel device compared to the image you get out of basically any other device, because of all of the special source processing and so on that Google has spent time and money on. It doesn't mean it's the best camera, but it's certainly the image that you get out at the end is the easiest to obtain, is to a minimum viable quality.
Yeah.
And is the most consistent minimum viable quality, in my opinion. Because for me, I would say that the camera on my Mate 20X is, as a camera, it is better. It is a better physical camera.
Yeah.
The images you get out at the end between the two devices are probably identical. Ultimately, they are different pictures, absolutely, but the subjective comparing of quality is basically identical.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of saying on that.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So I think it's a case of, you know, so much of that processing can recover the slightly weaker hardware.
Yeah, Google phones are all about the software magic. Yeah, that seems to be the case. And yeah, I think now we're at the point, certainly like when it comes to cameras and stuff like that, we're at the point with mobile devices and phone cameras where they are good enough that if you need something better than what the Pixel can do with its raw camera and stuff like that, you should be using something that's more than a phone anyway. You should be using a compact camera or a digital SLR or something like that. There gets to a point where it's just like, if you want something better than this, you should be using a different class of device now at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Really funny point about that. I went through my pictures from my Canon 400D, which is a digital SLR.
Yeah.
The pictures out of my Pixel 3 XL and my Huawei Mate 20X are better from a raw quality point of view.
Yeah.
I really realise that's a 15-year-old DSLR.
Yeah.
But we are beyond a 15-year-old DSLR in raw image quality.
And that's very impressive when because for me, the big limiting factor that will always make me that will always make me shun how good a phone camera can be is just the fact of it's just the lens size. You know, you're working with a tiny lens, and for me, I'm just like, there's only so much you can do with a tiny little lens. Whereas on an SLR, when you're using a 50mm lens that's heckin' that wide, you know, obviously that's a completely different class. So it's interesting they go toe to toe. Although, of course, DSLR has the advantage that with that big lens, it's far easier to do more special effects like depth of field, bokeh, etc., which while you can do that on modern phones, they're doing it in software, which is always going to give something that is faked per se.
Yeah, absolutely. But like the raw output now on the on the color reproduction, on the dynamic range, all stuff like that, it's very interesting how it's basically beaten what a sort of a 15-year-old DSLR can give you in a raw sort of this is a scene image.
Yeah.
Obviously, the stuff that you can do with that, the control you have over the creative process and the control you have over the end result is obviously higher in the DSLR because basically everything is manual.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's important to it's important.
I'm talking about the.
Yeah, we're not saying that the phone is better than the DSLR, but the fact that we can even put these two together and compare them now. Just the fact that we can even have this conversation is itself fairly significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say in a way that in ideal conditions, we've been there for a reasonably long time in ideal conditions. But it's the case of we've moved into more and more situations where that's the case.
Yeah.
Because it's a case of, my perfect example is, because I used to be a member of several photography clubs, is I would rock up to those photography clubs with pictures I'd taken on my phone.
Yeah.
Comparing to people with very expensive DSLR setups and so on. And people would say that my cameras are good.
Yeah.
You know, that my pictures are as good as, are better than, you know, are equivalents to. So it's kind of a case of in ideal situations, you've been able to do that. And it's just it's good that we are getting into more and more situations where that is the case. That for the vast majority of people, we're already better than what they would achieve with those DSLRs.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, like, Mark Van Vilsen there is sort of saying, you know, what I could get out of a 400D with a simple lens and so on and so forth. I think, this is the thing is, again, some of it comes down to, the advantage of the DSLR is more than its raw quality per se. It's what you can do with it, like you say, what you can do with it post-processing and stuff like that. So I think this is not necessarily saying that the DSLR is obsolete per se, but again, like.
I think it's just intentionally missing the entire point that I was making.
Yeah, exactly. I think
it's intentionally misconstruing everything that I said.
I think the comparison we're looking for here is that if you go to older phones and you take a snapshot indoors of a tricky situation, you're going to get a really naff picture from that phone. Whereas if you had an SLR, you'd get a stunning picture all the same. Whereas now, like if you take a brand new iPhone and you take an indoor picture with it, or like even night photography, the iPhone's night photography mode, the amount that phone can pull out of what looks like a black scene is mind blowing. Now it's of course you could do that with a DSLR if you set it up right.
Yeah.
But the point that the phone can even attempt that is what is so amazing here. The fact that the phone is even attempting to do this with a tiny little lens and just an idiot behind the screen just going on the the fact that we're even attempting that is what is mind blowing here. That's the important thing, I think. Now, an average person can get a photo that is respectable, because that's that's just it. You know, like now and then I'll get snapshots from my family where they've taken a picture and they took a picture they've taken a picture with a bright window directly behind them, or like I've watched my family go sort of, oh, you know, they're holding the kid, and it's like, oh, hold on camera, and I'm just like, don't take a picture from that angle. There's a bright window behind them. They're going to be a silhouette, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, oh, maybe you should turn around. And they're like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. And then you look at the picture, and they've come out just fine. You're like, oh, that shouldn't have worked as far as I'm concerned, but it did. You know, it allows you to get a reasonable or even a good picture from what should be a completely unreasonable situation, literally at the press of a shutter button. That's the thing, you know. So yeah, we're not saying that a smartphone is better than an SLR. It's just the fact that you can do this much with a smartphone in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the significance there?
Yeah, it makes the comparison unnecessary for the 99%er.
Yeah, that's
basically.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's about it. At any rate, though, yeah, I think someone else also said sort of, oh, they want a phone that is repairable and stuff like that. The only one I know that really ticks all the boxes is, you know, Fairphone are still going. They're on the Fairphone 3 Plus. That comes in at 470 euros on their website at the moment. So that's probably about, what, you know, $450, $470, something like that, equivalent. And those are very repairable and such like. I don't know how the specifications stack up to a modern phone, though. I notice it's Snapdragon 632. They're on the 850 or something now, aren't they?
As the top end one is, I think it's the 850.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can't remember. 880? So, I don't know.
They're a couple of generations out of date there, but I think the Fairphone will give you a reasonable phone these days. And as I say, you can buy all your spare parts directly from them and stuff like that. So I think that's the solution there. It's got USB-C charging and such like as well, you know. So it's going to cost you more. However, you know, Fairphone is one of those things where I'm probably not hardcore enough to actually put my money where my mouth is. But big respect to the fact that they've made a phone that is repairable and also meticulously sourced parts, where, you know, they've checked and everything that goes in there is from good factories using parts from sustainable and fair sources, etc., etc.
Absolutely.
So
it's impressive that they've bothered to put that effort in.
Yeah, and doing all of that, like 470 euros, that's actually quite a reasonable price, it seems, as well, for what is effectively a budget phone, I would say. So, you know, an actual real budget phone is probably going to be half the price, but given the cost of modern smartphones, 470 euros is not outlandish. If you want to say, you know, look, I want a phone that is, well, yeah, fixable, and that I can buy spare parts from, and I can replace the battery in and all the rest of it. And it's a case of, yes, this phone is designed to be fixed.
And kind of the ethics conversation off of the back of that as well, with the sourcing and all of that. It's a case that's certainly worth the additional price to a lot of people.
Because ethics-wise, it's really hard to do that. Like, really hard. You know, I mean, obviously... just because I haven't watched it in a while, but I know I've watched I watched a couple of documentaries before about trying to source supply chains and stuff. I know I watched one at one point about tuna ages ago on TV, about supermarkets making sure that the tuna in their store brand tinned tuna was responsibly sourced. And again, the amount of work that is involved in ensuring that all the way down the supply chain, right down to the boat, where the boat is and what fish they fish up and what nets they're using and stuff like that, making sure that is all in check is really hard. And when you start getting into electronics, where obviously everything is being sourced from China, with the greatest respect to the Chinese, there are plenty of Chinese manufacturers that will be like, yes, we're very responsible, when they've got a factory full of kids that they're not telling you about. And the only way to be certain is to pay people to show up at the factories unannounced and actually be like, oh, to see if there's any kids in that factory. because otherwise they'll put on a dog and pony show for you. And
basically.
And of course there's a mixture of, this is why, I mean, Apple were in trouble for this recently as well, where they had issues with child labor and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to defend Apple here because they continued to source from that. They basically, Apple, I can't remember which products it was. It was probably one of the new iPhones or something like that. But Apple, for something like 3 weeks, knowingly continued to use a partner, knowing that they had underage laborers. Now, obviously, the only other option they would have had would be to delay the launch of their product, possibly for months, while they reordered that supply. Now, in the interest of ethics, the obvious answer to that is, well, you better delay your product then, hadn't you? Now, that obviously would have cost them, God knows how much money, and they would have had all of that faff of lost income from the product not being launched, and egg on their face that their product was late because people would be like, oh, it's not ready yet, and they're like, oh no, we've got the tech nailed down, it's our suppliers that are letting us down. However, that obviously would have been infinitely better than having a news story come out that says they use child labor. However, I sympathize. I don't know. I mean, I sympathise with them by virtue of the fact of how difficult it is to ensure that there is no unethical supply chain issues.
Yeah. I don't know because it's like there was a great survey study that was done about, because I don't know if you recall, I've just forgotten what the store's called. Sports Direct.
Yeah.
Sports Direct were found to be paying all of their shop staff less than minimum wage by the number of hours they were required to work, with a lot of unpaid additional hours, thus meaning their hours worked meant they were paid less than minimum wage by hours, because the hours billed and the hours forced to work were vastly different. And the story came out, and obviously loads of people said, I'll never shop from them again.
Yeah.
I think it was Ipsos Mori went around and surveyed people afterwards saying, what do you think of this story and so on. Lots and lots of people said, oh no, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. 6 months later, basically 95% of people were back shopping there.
Yeah.
That's why, the choice is a very simple choice of, well, we just continue anyway, and we clean it up later, because in less than 6 months, 95% of people will be back buying from us anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, so.
Yeah. It was I can't remember what game it was, but it was one of the Call of Duty games. I think it was the first Call of Duty game when they said there would be no dedicated servers. And there was a mass, everyone was just like, boycott the new Call of Duty. And there were Steam groups full of, thousands of members strong of people saying, boycott the new Call of Duty. And I think it was a month after release or something like that. If you went to that group, they were all showing playing Call of Duty, the new one.
Yeah.
And it's just and it was because Jim Sterling did a video about this, I think that was called Boycotts Don't Work or something like that. And he was absolutely right. Boycotts don't work. So to that extent, I think you're right. When we say that for the company, it's better to knowingly use the unethical supply chain, we don't say that from a business standpoint. We say that from this is what they'll actually probably pick, because they know that the public have got a short memory, which kind of sucks, really. And, it's terrible. And I wish I had a solution to that, but I don't. But
absolutely. But it's,
words
I think it's one of those things where, as an individual, you have a personal responsibility. Just because everyone else forgot about the story and so on doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you are absolved of responsibility because the masses are doing something.
Yeah.
You still have a responsibility for your actions. So it's a case that if you can avoid using someone who is doing something that is unethical, then stop using it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that can be something really simple, with battery hen eggs, the fact that you can still go into a shop and buy eggs from battery hens proves that people keep buying them. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And battery hens, it's terrible. It's horrendous. It's animal cruelty. But the fact that they're still on sale in shops means people are still buying them because everyone just goes, "Oh, I just want some eggs. I'll just buy the cheap ones. It doesn't matter. I'm just one person, etc., etc." And it's exactly. Like now, I'm not gonna virtue signal here and say that I'm a beacon of ethics or whatever. No,
absolutely.
There's not a doubt in my mind that plenty of time I've been like, I'm buying this product and I'm not even going to think or research whether it's ethically sourced because I don't want to know the answer to that. However, sometimes you can help just by going to the shop and just saying, no, I will buy the ones that are free range eggs because then at least I know it's not battery eggs. So it's just sometimes you don't have to go all the way, but sometimes just at least keeping it in mind is a good start, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a case that certainly if you can do lots of little nudges, eventually you'll start getting there. And if it's a case that you can have little nudges with your friends and with your family and stuff like that, and it's a case of a single step is still a step more than you were yesterday kind of thing, and so on. So it's kind of a case of any progress is progress, no matter how small.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
right, just rolling back a bit. Demon EBS, thank you for the $10 toward my new Pixel phone. Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated as always. Always a strong contributor. Thank you very much for that. One of my views on the Apple earphones, I think we spoke about this the other week, but
my views continue to be I'm annoyed that Apple doesn't want me as their customer.
Yes.
Beyond that, I don't have any views.
Yeah. They seem to be good earphones. They seem to be reasonably priced for their target audience.
Yeah.
However, it's frustrating that they don't make them work for everyone. The Linus Tech Tips review of them kind of nails the point home, where they're just like, if you're an Apple user, they're great, but if you don't have an Apple device, they suck. Whereas you could buy insert competing brand of headphones here that work really well on anything. So it's a case of just
they're agnostic.
Yeah, so it's a case of if you're an Apple user, they're really good, but for some reason or other, as Caradog put it, Apple don't want me as their customer, and it's
I don't already own enough of their products. I don't own enough of their products to be worthwhile as a customer for buying more of their products, also, kind of thing. And it's just like, what?
In a way, I think this ties into what we were talking about with phones earlier on, and people being sort of, why would you spend this much for the Apple product? Is that I still find a concerning number of my client base who I'm fairly certain the only reason why they are using Apple is because they believe they're locked into the Apple ecosystem. I had another customer today who I just fixed his MacBook. I just put a new screen on his MacBook. It was a Thunderbolt MacBook, so one of the modern ones and everything. And he was looking to sell it because he wanted to get a 15-inch and stuff. And he was grumbling about the prices and stuff. And I was like, well, you don't have to get an Apple. Apple are not good bang for buck. They're a luxury brand. You could buy a different brand and get something that is just as quick and does the same for less money in exchange for it not having the shiny Apple logo on it, And he was just like, but I use all the Apple cloud services and et cetera, and he basically said in a very long-winded way, I'm tied into the Apple ecosystem. To which I replied, as I do with all the time when I hear this, is it's easier than you think to leave the Apple ecosystem. And I said, you could switch to Google services and have exactly the same experience that works on any platform. That's just one example of other services you could use that isn't Apple and give you the same experience. And I think it's the same reason with this and with the Apple headphones. I think Apple do this on, I guess it seems obvious when you say it, but Apple do this on purpose. They deliberately make their stuff not work with other products because they're trying to keep people locked in. Because people, that means that anyone who has gone out and spent $600 on those on the Apple AirPods Max, you can bet your bottom dollar that their next phone is going to be an iPhone because they're like, I spent 600 quid on my headphones. damn straight I'm going to have to buy another iPhone to make that worth it. I'm not going to buy an Android and have pleb functionality from my £600 headphones.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's Apple's game. And obviously that's gross and disgusting, and it makes me dislike Apple intensely. But
yeah, exactly.
It's not an excuse, it's an explanation, but that's what they're doing. And so it's a cult following, a little bit of cult. I don't think it's so much... that's my point. I don't think it's so much cult that people think they're better. I think a lot of people are wise to Apple's games these days and know that they're getting shafted. It's more of a matter of they think they can't switch. You know, that's the issue now, is that they think they can't switch. They are feeling trapped. They don't like Apple any more than the next person, but they feel like they don't have a choice, which is a very interesting, possibly an interesting development. I think Apple used to be a cult, but now it's more of a just entrapment game. There's still plenty of Apple fanboys who are very much cultists, of course, but...
It isn't entrapment.
Okay, not in the legal term. Yeah, not the legal term of entrapment, but they feel trapped in the ecosystem because they believe that switching to another device means they're going to have to change their life entirely. And it's like, no, it's really not that difficult, you know. Especially now that everyone is streaming music. Like when you if you were a heavy iTunes user and you had all your CDs ripped into iTunes and you were syncing it to your Apple device, I don't think I've ever encountered another system that had nailed ripping CDs and syncing them to a mobile device for listening to. No one nailed that as well as Apple did with iTunes, make no mistake. I have never used anything that had such a slick experience. However, these days, everyone is using a subscription-based streaming service. So it doesn't matter whether you're using Apple or Google Play or Spotify or Deezer. It doesn't matter. You're paying a monthly amount and you get access to basically all the music ever. So
absolutely.
It doesn't matter anymore. So it's easier than ever to switch out now.
It's just, to me, I found it very interesting that music syncing with like all of the kind of iTunes stuff to Apple devices. I was amazed as to how important that was to people when so many people would never even listen to the entire length of a song and stuff like that, let alone listen to an entire album. So the fact of it didn't easily sync album arts and track titles and stuff, I was amazed that was a reason for purchasing a device when you don't even listen to the entire track.
Yes.
You know, and stuff like that. It was a case of all of the people who were around my age at the time when the iPod was released, they listened to music by listening to like 45 seconds of a song and then skipping and stuff like that. And it was just like, I don't get why the Apple syncing stuff made any difference to you.
Yeah.
Because you could just dump files onto a cheap £30 MP3 player and have exactly the same experience, kind of thing. It was just bizarre.
Yeah. I know what you mean about it's for a lot of people. It seems hard to imagine someone who just listens to half of a song and then skips and stuff like that. But like, I have a very vivid memory of a time when I was waiting at a bus stop with one of my sister's friends. My sister had just popped out to the shop, and I was listening to my Sony Discman on headphones, and I was sharing headphones with my sister's friend, and they had control of the music at the time, and it was my Discman with my CD in it, which was just a random mix CD, and they would just listen to half a song and then just sort of skip to the next song, and I'm just like, what are you doing? If you don't like the song, then skip it from the start. But why do you just keep getting, just stop skipping halfway through a song? Either listen to the song or don't. You know, and it was just like, And so that seems like a completely alien thing. People will be like, what the hell are you talking about? But I know that's real because I've experienced it. And it's strange. And attention span, I think you're right. And interestingly as well, that attention span, this was before the days of social media and stuff like that. So like these days, we feel like people have got the attention span of a gnat and et cetera, and people always complain about kids these days. But I think it's always been like that. It's just It's always been the same.
Social media has just made it possible to actually sate that desire.
Yeah.
It's always been
made it
something
more
that's
visible
been there
as
in the
well.
vast. Yeah, it's been something that's been there in the vast majority of people for the vast majority of time. I would conclude it's just a case of it's been made more obvious. And I would say that younger people, like much younger people, are beyond that now. In a way, it seems less relevant. Doom scrolling and stuff on Facebook doesn't seem to be a thing for those people now. And it seems to be very much trapped to the people who are, I don't know, maybe 20 to 45, 50-ish. It seems to be in that age range.
Millennials and up, basically. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Well,
and
the new gen is Zoomers, aren't they?
I don't know.
If my terminology is correct.
I was going to say, technically, if you want to get anal about it, there are only 2 generations that actually exist.
Yeah, okay, but if we say millennials and then Gen X and then boomers, everyone knows what we're talking about, don't they? You know,
Child.
Yeah, there you go, Spud. Speaking of children, you know, hi, Spud Nugget. Well, there we go. You know, if we got any other Zoomers in the chat who doom scroll or don't doom scroll, you know, just an interest thing. But yeah, I don't know. I was about to say something else, but I forgot what it was. No, can't remember. Yeah. I had something I was going to say that was probably going to be a really good, and that's a good time to end, and I've forgotten what it was now, so never mind. Yeah.
I had a really good topic, and it's gone because I'm old.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much. Boo. Yeah. Oh well. Right. Have we got anything else? Otherwise, I think we're coming up to a conclusion now, aren't we? Lots of people talking about platforms they're using and stuff like that. And yeah, I actually want to go back to having a music library. I've still got my old iTunes library, and I want to actually get that brushed up and up to date and stuff. So yeah.
Lord.
GPU repairs at some point. When I get to it, I want to do it when I have time, basically. So yeah, and
time to buy Quadro 2000s for 19p off of eBay.
Maybe. Mark Van Vilsen, appreciate it. You know, whether we agree or disagree on things, it's good to have a conversation. Always good to have a conversation. What's wrong with CDs? Nothing. I still like CDs. I don't really have a convenient way to listen to them, but I still value physical media. I do like it. Just because nothing else, it just means that one day, if a streaming service goes offline, I can be like, oh, okay, I've still got my music though, you know. So,
I mean, there are always services on which one can download digital media from. So, yeah.
Can you do a tutorial on how to fully remove apps that get added to startup items? I need to do a modern servicing video. So yes, I will add that to the list because my current servicing video is not my current.
It's 2017.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit long in the tooth because it's there are certainly plenty of things in there that are not factually incorrect, but probably less important or less relevant now. I need to do a brush.
Hard drives.
Yeah, exactly. These days it's a case of like there's no point in me telling you guys to defrag. If you have a hard drive, then stop having a hard drive, and if you can't afford an SSD, then stop being poor. So there are cheap SSDs out there. They're like 20. You can get an SSD for $20. Just buy one.
So we know who you voted for. Why don't these poor people just stop being poor?
I'm being facetious. Don't take me out of context. Let's see. Anything else? Otherwise, I think we're done. Won't pay monthly, no contracts. Agreed. I dislike paying monthly for things. I will pay monthly for some things. However, I do everything I can to keep my monthly payments to a minimum. Michael Pilgard with 40... What's a DKK?
Danish krone.
Danish krone. Yes, that's right. Huh. I don't know. Oh, it's pegged to the euro. Is that 40 euros? Oh wait, no, subdivided into 100. I don't know. Thank you for the 40 Danish krone. Sorry, again,
we are suddenly learning about currencies.
we've had this conversation before on stream. Whereas Google Super Chats, it says you've received 40 DKKs, but it gives me zero context for how much money that is. So if I don't know what the Danish krone is worth, I have no idea how much I've just been given. I appreciate it nonetheless, whether it's big or small. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
I mean, that'd be quite nice if one DKK was worth £400.
Yeah, worth £4. Well, there you go. Thank you for the £4 then. Much appreciated. That sounds more appropriate for what I was saying there. But yes.
Indeed. But yes, it is time.
Yes, it is time. Yep, we're all there. Die? Duel is true. Right, anyway, we're leaving. Mark Lawson, Caradog doesn't exist, so you'll never get an answer out of him for that one. However, yes. Tell us about your personal life. Yeah. Over to Discord. Yes. Thomas Aslaxon. Sorry, we got there in the end. We're at the end of the stream and I'm tired. Has the right idea. We do have a Discord. Continue the conversation there. Does anyone have the... Oh, I put it in... I deliberately put it in the rules so I could easily get to it now. It's not there.
One day.
Did someone take Did someone take the invite link out of the rules? Or did I just...
You even add it there?
I might be thinking of a different server now, actually. I need to add one there.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, because that hasn't been edited since September.
Yeah. Yeah, never mind. I've got to add one in there just because it's the rules on the Discord server are a really good place to put an official invite code, because then people stop making lots of random invite codes and they just use the one that they can find in rules.
And it also makes it easier to delete those codes. So
that's true. Right. Okay. There we go. There's the Discord invite. Continue the conversation there. It's also... Oh, yes. It's in the description down below. That's an easier way of getting to it. We're all done. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back next Saturday not as usual. Are we going to do a different time next Saturday? Are we going to try that out? Are we going to commit to that now?
Yes.
Yes.
At another time.
Yeah, at another time. Probably either 7 or 8 p.m. UK. Look out for the scheduled video, which I will make sure that the stream schedule will go up on Friday or Saturday morning. And as I say, it'll probably be around 7 or 8 o'clock UK.
Before we go live.
Yeah, it'll be. We're going to go for an evening one, and we'll just test the water, see how that goes. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next Saturday. Repair videos and stuff are coming out this week. I have got stuff in the pipeline, so I will see you guys in those videos as well. That's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having a good time. See you all soon. I'm going to hit stop streaming now. Bye, everyone.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Ciao. Au revoir. Farewell.
End stream.
Goodbye. So long. Farewell.